Member Cowichan Valley.
Wild salmon are tremendously important to coastal and northern communities. As the Mayor of Smithers states, it's a wild salmon economy here. The Skeena River alone generates up to $110 million per year, while sports fishing in BC produced revenues of $925 million, contributing $325 million to BC's GDP and 8,400 direct jobs. In a 2013 article, the MLA for Stikine Valley, now the Minister of Forest, Lands, Natural Resources and Northern Development, was quoted saying, "Wild salmon habitat deserves local, regional, provincial, national and global protection because there is nothing like it remaining in the world." My question through you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Premier. Saving BC's wild salmon will require a massive investment in habitat restoration. Is your government prepared to make this investment, particularly given the crucial role that wild salmon plays in BC's economy?
Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. We had some questions yesterday around salmon in British Columbia, and I'm delighted to focus on wild salmon, wild Pacific salmon, which are the lifeblood of many communities, as the member said. In my own community of Langford, Juan de Fuca, fishing in Souk and Port Renfrew is the vital part of the economy that we see certainly during the summer, and I had the good fortune of being on the San Juan River with the Pacheedaht First Nation to observe their food fishery not 7 days ago. So the power of salmon is in all of us, and I think every member of this House would agree. With respect to the question about salmon restoration, certainly upstream is the responsibility of the provincial government. We need to make sure that we are rehabilitating streams after logging practices, some good, some bad. But we also have to make sure we're working with partners. The member for Skeena raised some questions yesterday with respect to Indigenous people and what their relationship is with salmon. We need to make sure the federal government is at the table with dollars to make sure that they're meeting their obligations as well. And I'd also say that I think all members, if you're not aware of the important salmon enhancement work that's being done up and down the coast to bring more salmon into play, not just for food fishery, not just for commercial and sport fisheries, but for orcas and other mammals that depend on the salmon. I think that we can all do well when the estimates for the member for Stikine and the member for Minister responsible for Agriculture come up, that we all embrace and support the notion of salmon enhancement and making sure that we're doing restoration in our stream beds.
Member Cowichan Valley on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In 2009, the Fraser River sockeye return was so low it was regarded as a catastrophic collapse. The Cohen Commission of Inquiry into the decline of sockeye salmon in the Fraser River was launched, and 3 years later produced 75 recommendations on how we could restore and protect wild salmon. At the time, Justice Cohen stated, "Salmon farms should not be permitted to operate unless it is clear they pose no more than a minimal risk to the Fraser River sockeye salmon." This year, Honourable Speaker, the Fraser River sockeye are returning at nearly the same catastrophically low levels as in 2009. We are in an emergency. My question again through you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Premier. I appreciate you recognizing the need to work with the federal government. Will the Premier meet with Prime Minister Trudeau to actively advocate for BC's wild salmon and establish a coordinated provincial federal strategy to responsibly phase out open net fish farms on migratory routes?
Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member again for her question. The Minister of Agriculture met with the Minister of Fisheries just last week to raise the issues of open net pen fish farms in migratory routes, which is counter to the recommendations of Cohen. Cohen has been endorsed, I believe, by the members on the other side, as well as the current federal government and the government of the day here in British Columbia. It's my view that we need to make sure that we're working with all of the stakeholders, as articulated by the member for Skeena yesterday. This issue didn't arrive yesterday. The member's given us a historical note back to 2009 and the beginning of the Cohen investigation, but we've had challenges with wild fish and the integration with Atlantics or invasive species in the minds of some for some 25, 30 years. This issue will not be solved overnight, but I commit to this member and all members of this House and all British Columbians that wild salmon are paramount on this side, and I believe throughout this legislature, and I'm going to do my level best to work with every level of government and all Indigenous people to protect wild salmon.